أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من اللعين الشيطان الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أرواحنا وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. My dear elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. أوصيكم عباد الله وأوصي نفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل والورع عن محارمه. I do remind myself and all of you to be cautious, to be careful about our duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today I would like to discuss something related to the wiladat of our 10th Imam, Al-Imam Ali ibn Muhammad al-Hadi al-Naqi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad al-Ali. And before doing that, let's congratulate our Imam of our time, Al-Imam al-Mahdi, ajalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. And all our ulama and maraja and mu'minun across the globe on this auspicious occasion as we remember the birthday anniversary of his great grandfather, salawatullahi salamu alayhim ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And in relation to him, I would like to begin with this verse in Surah Al-Anbiya where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ وَكَانُوا لَنَا عَابِدِينَ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. اللهم صل على محمد. Very general explanation of this verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we made them to be guides, to be leaders. جَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً. We made them to be guides, we made them to be leaders. يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. So they guide according to our own instruction, according to our own command. They do not lead people according to what they wish or what they feel. It is according to the commands and the instructions that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ. So and we reveal to them the doing of good. وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ. And to establish prayers. وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ. And to give alms. وَكَانُوا لَنَا عَابِدِينَ. And they were to us worshippers. They served us. They served our way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way. In this category falls the Imam of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And when you refer to their lives, you see a manifestation of true servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And everyone who came across their lives and studied their lives would testify to the fact that throughout their lives, you see only light, you see only guidance. You see the kind of connection they had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They stand out at all times to be the lantern of guidance. And whatever was done to put them down never succeeded. If you read in their lives, and I will urge mu'minun to make an effort to study the lives of A'immah alayhim salam. And there is one very good book which was written by the leader of the Islamic Revolution of Iran, Sayyid Ali al-Khamenei, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep him safe in life, prolong his life. It's a book called The Person, or the Life of the Person Who Lived 250 Years. This is the meaning of this book, 250 years life of A'immah alayhim salam. If you combine together the lives of the A'immah alayhim salam, you'll find that it comes to around 250 years. Now, when you study the lives of Ma'asumin alayhim salam in this context, you'll see that at every time, in every age, they stood out despite all the efforts of the enemies to put them down and to eliminate them and to move them from being in the position that they were put by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So every time you see they facing challenges and the hardships are put on their way, impediments, it was very difficult for them to exercise their role as A'immah alayhim salam. You see, like Imam al-Hadi. Imam al-Hadi comes at a time when there is a fierce enemy of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, in the name of Mutawakkil. As his predecessors, he worked so hard to put down or to put off the light of A'immah alayhim salam. And he summoned Imam to Samarra. And Imam lived in Samarra for more than 20 years, about 22 years, under the watch of the army, so that he cannot communicate or interact with his followers across the world. He was put under the military camp. That's why they are known as Al-Askari. So Imam al-Hadi and Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, they were put in the military camp so that they can watch over them. Despite this, Imam would organize ways to communicate with his followers, to give them guidance, to try and serve them. And when you read in the life biographies of histories that have been written about the Imam, you see that Imam, throughout the time that he was there, even under the watch of the enemies and the army, he would go out to find out the problems of the people, to serve the orphans, to look at the widows, look at the poor ones, extend to them help. Every day that he would engage with the people and serve the people. And when it comes at night, they would narrate that Imam would fall into prayers, long prayers, and there is nothing between his face and the earth but the sand. And he would cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, the poor has come to you, the miskin has come to you, the one who is the weak is now at your door. And do not turn him away in futile, like make him be successful. And he would cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and engage in long prayers and all that. But during the day, he's going around trying to help this person, trying to help that woman, that yatim and all that. And this is a distinctive feature in the lives of the A'immah alayhim salam. Now you will see it throughout their lives, starting from Amir al-Mu'min salawatullahi salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That they never disconnected from the people. They are always at the service of the people, going around to serve the poor, looking after their affairs. They never neglected them. And you see, this is a trend that goes around to all the A'immah alayhim salam. So sometimes when they are washed, when they die, the marks of the sacks of bags that they were carrying, the burden they were carrying on their backs is seen on their backs by themselves. Though they had people around them who could take those things to the poor and help those who are in need. But they took it by themselves, going around the houses, helping out people by themselves. You see Amir bin alayhi salam one time going to the house of that old woman and helping her to cook food and to look after the item. This was done directly by the Imam alayhi salam. And so it's Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and all of them, they have this kind of connection with the people. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you cannot mention. And this is what the ayah reveals to us, that like we read in this ayah of Surah Al-Anbiya, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. That we made them to be the imams, to be the leaders who guide according to our own order, our own communication, our own command. And this is what we need to learn when we study the lives of Aimma alayhi salam. As today, when we remember the Aimma, we must connect the lives of our Aimma alayhim salam with our own lives. We must emulate them. We must follow their steps. To be true believers in the Imamat and Wilayat, it requires from us actions. It's not just enough to believe in the Wilayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and to consider them the people who had that right to lead. We can only be the true followers of Aimma alayhim salam if we put in practice their teachings, if we try and follow their steps, if we try to emulate them in their actions, not just by faith. And in this regard comes the important aspect of trying to help, to assist, to extend help to those who are in need. You find that in Islam, there's so much emphasis on the obligation of spending the way of Allah, in the name of zakat, in the name of khums, in the name of sadaqat, in the name of charity, whatever it is. But there's so much emphasis on that, to an extent that it is always accompanied with the prayers. Like you can find that always there's a mention of prayers with zakat. And even in this verse that I recited, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ. When Nabi Isa alayhi salam introduces himself to the people, he says, I'm a servant of Allah. He has commanded me to establish prayers and to give alms, to give zakat. So there is so much emphasis on this. And this must be something that we always try to remember and try to practice it. And today we are challenged. We have this ibtila. We are tested in different ways. That we live in societies, in communities, in a country, in a nation, where quite a number of people are challenged in different ways. And they face hardships. While there are people who find certain things to be very natural and they take them for granted, these other things are not available for a majority of the people. You know that in our own country, not crossing across the country, going far away, in our own country. And Dr. Mohsen, you know him, and he engages with the people and he speaks to some of you, and you know it. Like some people survive on a glass of water for 2 days, while others, mashallah, we have plenty of water, playing with it, and we do not care much. We do not even think that it is a privilege to have such. But there are people who would struggle to get that small glass of water to just keep themselves alive in our own country. Is the situation in places, some places is so bad that you are told that, and this is difficult to mention it, but we have to share this feeling because it is a reality, that young girls of the age of 13 or 14, or they reach to a point whereby the only way for them to survive maybe is to give themselves to people so that they can get a meal of food in our own country. And when we hear of this, what would be our reaction? Does it awaken us? Does it touch us? Does it affect our consciousness? Do we feel the responsibility of it? What is our take when we come across such kind of things? It's here that we are tested, and the test will come to pass. Some will fail, some will succeed. But we shall be questioned. We shall be questioned to our capacity, to our level of ability to respond to such issues. We are not told like we have the responsibility to look after every miskin and after every faqir. But when we ask this question, what did you do when you heard of this? What would be your answer, your honest answer in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is what we need to be clear with ourselves. Our consciousness needs to be very clear. What will I answer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tomorrow? That's what's important to us. It doesn't matter, how many people will be happy or how many people are, going to appreciate or not. But in between you and Allah, if you hear of such cases, and we do not go very far. Maybe the example I gave of Dr. Mohsen, which is in Jakama, very far away, could not be easily related to some people. But in our neighborhood, in our own, town, what is our responsibility? And this way, mu'minun need to think and to come up with, solutions, not individually, but as a collective responsibility. And I urge every one of us to really take care of this, because it is our duty, it is our responsibility, and we cannot just turn away a blind eye and say it's okay. At the same time, one of the responsibilities that we have when we hear of such things is to be thankful and grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessings that He has given us, to appreciate the different ni'mah He has given us, to take advantage of it, and to avoid the abuse of any ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, because it can be easily taken away at any time without a warning, because the warnings are already there. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ وَإِتَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِدَنَّكُمْ. So Allah has told us that if you are grateful to the ni'mah, to the blessings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to increase them. He will not take away this ni'mah. وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ فَإِنَّ عَذَابِ لَشَدِيدٌ. But if you are ungrateful, then remember that the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe, and it comes in different forms. Let's be aware of this. Remind ourselves and remember our obligations, remember our duties towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards our community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq, and that we do what is right on us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahus samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. أوصيكم عباد الله ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل والورع عن محارم. Once again, let me remind myself and all of you to be careful of our duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this second sermon, I'd like to discuss a little bit, just as a reminder again, on participating in Jama'at prayers. We have talked about this many times, and we have been reminded about the importance of Jama'at and the thawab that we get from it. And it becomes a monotonous talk and becomes a very common talk, and we get bored about it. But I want us to look at this from a different angle. Again, in the way of trying to reflect and trying to remind one another. So, if we thought about it, what is it that stops us, majority of us, or our people, or community? Of course, this is a talk not going to those who are participating in Jamaat prayers again, because you are present here. But as a reflection, and maybe to help and guide others whom we are concerned about, what is it that stops us from engaging in Jama'at prayers, in activities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to do them in congregation? What is it that stops us? What's the cause? Maybe this is something that everyone needs to reflect on it. But there are general reasons for it, and I will just mention them for your own reflection. One of the reasons why we fail to engage in such activities is because of the love of comfort and laziness that is caused by lack of proper faith. I'm sure you agree with me on this. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَّرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. So he is successful, the one who remembers, the one who tries to purify himself. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَّرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. And he remembered his Lord and engaged in prayers. وَذَكَّرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. But why did you not do so? بَلْ تُؤْثِرُونَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. You prefer the life of this world over the akhirah. We are comfortable with this life. We enjoy certain things in our lives. We don't want to be disturbed. So you are in your house and you are very comfortable, walking out, driving to the mosque, getting into trouble of the cold, avoiding this person or that person, trying to just be comfortable. I'll establish my prayers here, I have my tea and my coffee, and I'm watching TV. The next minute, I have my phone, no trouble, no ta'aqibat, nothing, just simple, I've done my duty. Very comfortable. We would want to have this kind of engagement with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want to go an extra mile, no extra effort. We feel very uncomfortable to walk to the mosque, to drive to the mosque. And this is what is one of the major reasons why we avoid engaging in such activities. Hubbu dunya, and hubbu dunya and hubbu raha is the love of the world and love of, that kind of very smooth life. We don't want to trouble ourselves in any way. In our country, there is no much, the temperature is not so bad. But once it becomes a little bit cold, it becomes a big struggle to really get to the mosque. And we find excuses for it, that it's very cold. So we cannot go to the mosque early in the morning or even dhuhr. I'm very tired. We would find excuses, many excuses. But it goes back to one thing, that we are comfortable and we don't want to be troubled. Because our houses are better than, the places of ibadah. There's a lot of comfort in it. And this is one reason why we disengage in doing ibadah. It's caused by the laziness, which is associated with nifaq. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Nisa, إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقُونَ يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهِ. The munafiq, they try to cheat Allah. To that extent, they think that they can play around with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make, some funny plans with Allah. وَإِذَا قَامُوا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ. When they stand up for prayers, they قَامُوا كُسَالَ. They are lazy. So laziness to establish prayers is associated with nifaq. When we find ourselves struggling with establishing prayers, then we need to check on ourselves. Because there's an element of nifaq. And this is why we pray, Allahumma tahhir qalbi min al-nifaq. There's a slight element of nifaq. Because the true faith and iman will push you to look for the best of thawab, to make a proper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not even to take it as a big deal. But when we find it to be something which is not very comfortable for us, then we have to check into ourselves. Then we have to really find out what is it that is in us. Because there is an element of nifaq in it. With aqamu ila salat qamu kusala. And there is a tendency in us. You see, the prayers are like, the thermometer to check your own self. Well, we emphasize on the prayers because it's in the center. Now, when prayers have problems, there's problems in other things also. When you are straight in prayers, you are establishing your prayers properly, then you'll find that other things are falling in the right places. But if you check that you have a problem with the prayers, then you have so many other issues with other things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, sometimes, why is it that we run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a time of difficulties? Where we start facing some financial challenges, we have difficulties in our families, we have this problem here and there, we run to Allah. And this is the tendency of human beings. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا مَسَّكُمُ الضُّرُّ فِي الْبَحْرِ ضَلَّ مَنْ تَدْعُونَ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. When you are faced with difficulty in the ocean, when you are in the seas traveling and you are about to perish, you run to Allah. And you promise Allah that if you saved us from this, we will surely be very sincere worshippers. And same thing, many times we go through difficulties and we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we make promises with Him. We are sorry, we have been negligent, and if you save us from this, a deal is done with you. And we are going to be very righteous people. Immediately after that, we forget and we go back to our zone, comfortable zone again. And we think that we have cheated Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're cheating ourselves. And this is it. ضَلَّ مَنْ تَدْعُونَ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ فَلَمَّا نَجَّاكُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ أَعْرَضْتُمْ وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانِ كَفُورًا. This is the nature of human beings. We quickly forget the mercy and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today we are surrounded with things that distract us. One of the ulama say that in our time it's so difficult because Shaitan has got so many tools and so many agents to distract us from the right path. And how much